going to talk about the Zero to Hero program and the Zero to Hero Foundation that is financing this very, very interesting program in Thailand. It started in 2011. I had married my Thai wife 2007, and when she saw how my children, 6 grandchildren, were developing with the Finnish early childhood education program, she asked me, could we do something for the children in my village in Thailand? My background as a business leader, as a management consultant, it was very much based on the understanding of the big change that we are going through right now, which according to Arvin Toffler is called the third wave. He wrote it in 1980. It's a big book with 400 pages. I don't go deeper into it, but the main message is that the first big change happened already 3,000 years ago when we went to the agricultural society. The second big change happened 300 years ago when we went to the industrial society, and right now we are going to the third big change, and that is called the value-based society. In industrial society, the whole idea was to produce as cheap as possible so that we can sell as cheap as possible. So the price was the main thing that the customers were looking at. And it meant also that the people working in our companies, we were ready to pay only very low salaries because we didn't have any big expectations for the workers. Main thing that they did fast what we asked them to do. In Thailand, you don't talk about second wave and third wave. Instead, you talk about Thailand 3.0, which is the industrial society, and Thailand 4.0, which is the value-based society. This describes very well the 3.0. It's very much factories, offices that work like factories, schools that work like factories. Everything is standardized. And the money is used as little as possible. While the value-based society looks very, very different. I think the first time when people understood the big difference was when they learned about Silicon Valley. How different kind of people, how different kind of lifestyle people all of a sudden had, and now it's spreading step by steps everywhere. The key word, as I said before, in 3.0 has been don't think. It works like an army is working. An army cannot in a war start to decide, I think we should do like this and you should think we should do like that, because then you could manage it. So there's one person who's deciding what we do and everybody follow. They are not allowed to think by themselves. That's how the factories, that's how the whole society actually has been working. So it's quite easy for the schools to develop this kind of students. But the key thing in 4.0 is totally the totally different, 180 degrees different, because here you need only people who have the skill to think, the skills to do plans, and people who can solve problems. That's what we need. People in every job in the organization need to have these skills. And this is a very, very big challenge for the school system. And Zero to Hero, our job is to try, exactly like I was trying to help companies in Finland, to help schools to do this change. So this is what we try to do. When we started with the program, we had to try to get a picture, how good is Thailand in education? And there's only one assessment in the world where you can compare different countries with each other, and it's called the PISA assessment. PISA started year 2000, it's done every 3 years. And from the beginning, Finland has been either the leading or one of the leading countries in the PISA assessment. While Thailand is one of the last ones. And what we have been trying to do is to analyze why is Finland doing so well and why is Thailand doing so poorly. Only by understanding this, we can find the way how we can support the Thai children to develop. So, of course, we need to go into the schools and see what is going on there. And what we have learned, which was very new for me, for Joe it was quite clear, the school is very teacher-centered. It's very much the teachers who say what they are ready to do and what they are not ready to do. So all the teachers feel that I'm a good teacher. I have my own classroom, I work there, I don't need to have connections with anyone else, I do my job there. But actually this is very dangerous thinking. In 4.0 you can't think like this. What you have to think is, do students learn? That's the only important thing. Do students learn? And a very good teacher can get students to learn close to 100% of what they are teaching. While a poor teacher, children learn zero, almost nothing. And then it can be something in between. There is a person called Edgar Dale who have been studying very much this, how much do students learn? And according to his studies, if you teach by lecturing, that means you go from paragraph 1 to paragraph 2 to 3 and so on, and you talk, children sit and listen, try to write down something. According to his studies, children only remember up to 5% of what the teacher is saying. 5%. It's the same as almost nothing. And that's exactly how I feel the situation, at least in Thai countryside, is today. According to Mr. Dale, if the teacher is capable of doing good active learning means that you activate the children to participate in the learning process. They have to use their brains all the time as a part of the learning process. They can remember up to 75% of what the teacher is teaching. 5% to 75%, it's amazing. And that is the reason why Finland is high, why Thailand is low in the PISA assessment. So what we try to do is to find a way, how can we lift up the 5% towards the 75%? So we are trying to design how would a zero to hero school look like. It would be a school that is for the 4.0 society, for the new challenges. And the main thing that students need to have, the main skill they need to have in 4.0 society is the skill to solve problems. That's everything in future. It's counted that there's over 30,000 situations that each one of us meet, problems that we should solve, smaller, bigger. At home they are smaller, at work they are often bigger, even very, very big. And our quality of life will be dependent very much on our skill to solve problems. The better we are, the better job, the better salary, the better we can support our family. The first important thing in the school concept is something that is not done very much today at schools, to train the brains. Because only through developed brains we can really learn effectively. But the brain development happens very much between the years 0 to 3 years, very, very, very young. And then the question is, so how do you develop brains? And we take an example, a very simple example, but this same example can be used in everything. There's a lot of situations every day with a baby, how you can develop the brains. Here we have a picture where mother is feeding the baby. She gives a lot of love to the baby, so she is very proud of the way she takes care of the baby. But is she developing the brains? Compared to this picture, where the child is allowed to try to eat by himself or herself, where the child has to think, how do I take the spoon in my hand? How can I take it so that I can turn it and put it in my mouth? By doing this, the child needs to use the brains all the time, makes a lot of mistakes, but learns a lot from each mistake. That's how brains are developing. Okay, it's clear that you have to clean after, but if you think about the child, this is the way how we get really good children through active learning. The second point in our Zero to Hero school model is knowledge, and that's of course what every school is doing. The school is based on providing knowledge. But the better we have succeeded in developing the brains, the more the child gets out of the teaching at school. And when you have enough knowledge and develop brains, these together make it possible for you to solve problems. So that's the whole process, not only to teach knowledge as today, but also to develop brains and teach about the problem-solving skills. But what is in the middle? In the middle we have the active learning. That's the way how we make this function. Active learning, a big challenge for teachers. Actually, it's not so difficult, but it's learning something new. And as we know, for every one of us, it's always difficult to learn something new when we feel that what we do now, we are good at that. But that is a challenge, that has to happen, and that is what we are developing, started to develop in Huana school, and now we are spreading to other schools to learn to do it better and better. But okay, I think it's quite easy to say to these ideas, yes, it sounds good, I agree. But then comes the big question, how should we do it? How can we get this to happen, that the children really are developing this way? Because we know that the teachers are not very eager to change. The Ministry of Education is having their own thoughts and so on. So how can we do it? And we have started, as I mentioned, to develop these thoughts in the Huana school. And the way we are doing it is, the step one is that we have started a baby and parent club, meeting 2 times a week. Parents or grandparents come with their 0 to 2-year-old baby for the club meetings. And in the club meetings we are focusing on developing the baby's skills, the skills the baby needs to have. And the main important skill is the cognitive skill, the brain skill, as mentioned before. But we are also focusing on helping the parents, or especially grandparents, by developing their parenting skills. Parenting skills mean how can they implement these same skills at home. Without succeeding to help the grandparents, we will never really succeed to develop the children the way we want to do it. Here is a picture from a typical club meeting. We have up to 20 babies, 20 parents, grandparents in the meetings, and people are very, very happy with this baby club. Now we have had closed for some time because of Corona, and people are really asking, when are you continuing, because they have seen the big value it has to their children. So when the child is 2 years old and allowed to go to the next step, to kindergarten or preschool, that's our next area to develop, 2 to 6 year olds. And the way we are developing, it's based on an American model called HighScope, but it's adapted also to Thailand, to Thai curriculum. So through HighScope we are doing active learning with the children. It's actually active learning by play. And it's really amazingly effective program. I'm really impressed by it. And there are 3 main elements. First, the child learns to plan what he or she wants to do. Then she's doing it, and then the children together review, how well did you do it? The children, other children can ask questions, and then the one who has been doing this is answering to the questions. It's really a great way to develop children. Here is from a high scope room, you always have 2 teachers for 20 children, because it's so intensive learning process that it needs 2 teachers to do it. And when the child is 6 years old and allowed to go to school, then starts the next phase in our program from 6 to 15. And also this is based on active learning, but now active learning through coaching. So the teacher, instead of only teaching, is starting to coach the process where we activate the student to think, to find solutions. And there are many ways how you can do active learning at school. It can be problem-based. You together agree about the problem that everyone has noticed and think, what can we do about the problem? Or it can be activity-based, like we have the corners in high scope. Or it can be dialogue-based active learning, where teacher is having a dialogue with the students, all the students, or the teacher puts the students in smaller groups where they have a dialogue with each other. The most demanding what you can have in M1 to M3 is project-based active learning. And that means that the project can last for 1 week or 1 month or even the whole term, where a group of students together are analyzing a lot of information in order to find a solution for a demanding problem. So the group work is a key in active learning. When we have the train, there is one point which is very, very critical, and we call it the school readiness. Are children ready for the school when they go there? If they are not ready for the school, they sit in the classroom but they learn almost nothing. So this is something that every school should know. When the children start, do they have the needed school readiness? And actually you measure the school readiness just before the students start the school. And Thai government did this kind of research for the first time in history last year, 2021. And they did it in all of Thailand. They did it in Phetchabun province also, and also our Huana school was a part of the study. So if looking at the results, 55.6% of children, according to the study, had the skill to listen and understand. Skill to listen and understand, because without that you learn almost nothing at school. It was done among the 5 and 6 year olds. And you had private schools, which normally is considered to be much better than government schools. You have city schools, big city schools, small city schools, and then you have rural schools. Like Huana is a rural school, countryside school. The same numbers for Phetchabun province was like this. Only 47.7% had the skills needed. And then Huana school on a school which is only, of course, a rural school, a countryside school, did better than the average of Phetchabun and all of Thailand. So at least we are very, very proud, because this shows that our program is working. The university who did the study, they knew that we are the only school in Phetchabun who have the high scope original program. So they wanted also to measure our 4 to 5 year olds, 1 year younger, to see how they perform against the 1 year older. And the result was like this, a big surprise. They did exactly as well as a 1 year older, because they are the first ones who started in baby club. And probably that is one of the reasons why they did so very well. So in average, they do better than 1 year older students in all of Thailand and Phetchabun province. Something really to be proud of. Another question they asked was about literacy, skill to read and write. And here you see the results, and then Juana, 5 to 6 year olds, did like this extremely well. And this, even if we have not been teaching reading and writing, there is a hard pressure often from parents to teach reading and writing. But in Finland we have learned that it can be damaging for the child if you push too early about reading and writing. You must give time for the brains to develop so that the child is ready to learn. And here we see the result when our children have focused on brain development. They have been getting books at home every day and looked with parents or grandparents about the books. The result is excellent. So again, we can be very proud of this. Finally, I want to thank Kone Centennial Foundation, a Finnish company, and also Planmeka, another Finnish company, for supporting strongly our Zero to Hero Foundation and making it possible for us to do as a charity this developing program for Thai, especially Thai countryside children. Thank you very, very much.